I'll recover alpha predator male economics here, patriarchal economics. So there's a whole economics as to how patriarchy makes decisions, and other alpha predator male groups. Um, the primary routine to which these kinds of groups organize their economy is to maximize the number of genetic replications of men in alpha state, or males in alpha state. The subroutines to this primary routine of maximizing the genetic replication numbers is the primary subroutines, or the subroutines of that primary routine is the points. Alpha predator male points, alpha predator male utility, the sex, sadism, the oppressive control memories. As that is what helps replicate the genes in pursuing those points. That's what helps pursue that primary routine. These are, think of money acquisition and all that other stuff as kind of subroutines, really, of this main routine of maximizing the number of genetic replications of men in alpha state. Same thing with the money, the territory, the sex, the sadism. So it's all really an economy of mind, an economy of propagating memories that oppressively control things, kind of oppress the world to manifest these memories in it to control it. And that part of the mind, it's an economy of mind, but also on this side of not just the memories created, but the neurotransmitters released between synapses. So, which translates to pleasure or pain, and other things too. But this is what is pursued, though, in this economy, is the formation of these memories and these kind of pleasurable neurotransmitter releases. And all of these memory formation and neurotransmitter releases all subconsciously help the genes replicate. So the genes build this vehicle, and it has this brain, and the brain wants to create all these memories, and has these pleasurable and neurotransmitter releases, all of which help it serve as the vehicle it is and spread the genes. So evolutionary psychology, psychological explanation of cost and benefits. So this gets us into, there's an evolutionary psychological explanation to why we perceive something as a benefit and why we perceive something as a cost. Just as I was saying with the points that spread the genes are evolved to be perceived as benefits. And the things that interfere with the acquisition of those points are costs, or the loss of those points is a cost. So, we have, and I love Vladimir Putin, and I like it because he says what everyone in America is thinking, at least the people that are under that are profiting off of oil. They know climate change is happening, and Vladimir said this. He knows it's happening. He doesn't think that they can stop it, but it's good for the economy. And I love Vlad and Mir and all of them and everyone here doing this kind of stuff too. And I'm glad he said that, because it's like, and that's what I figured that they were all thinking, something along those lines. But he gives us a good picture of what he at least tells the truth. Whereas over here, they just lie out their teeth to you, and you don't know what they're thinking. So it's hard to figure out what they're thinking to argue them. You see what I'm saying? So that's what they think, though. It seems like is they know it's happening. They don't think they could change it, or maybe want to. But what the big thing here is it's in computing in their mind as a benefit. What it's benefiting our economy, he says. They say. But really, what economy is it benefiting? Is it benefiting the economy of civilization and ascending our species and surviving? Or is it benefiting an economy of mind, and this kind of alpha predator male economy that doesn't That's just these kind of evolutionary, these evolved perceptions of what is a cost and what is a benefit. So, and that's not their fault for believing that kind of stuff. That's what they're that's natural selection. That's exactly as they should be believing. It'd be weird if they weren't, you know, doing these kind of things. It would be weird if they weren't doing that, because that's what natural selection ordains them to do. To perceive money as a benefit and the loss of it as a cost. To perceive these like kind of world destroying activities as a benefit, because it causes this other thing in this economy of our mind and it's to grow, this mind economy to grow, this kind of repressive alpha predator male mind economy. Where it's not actually about the physical resources of the world, but about controlling them. Okay, these economic solutions put forward by the alpha predator male organization are very oppressive often, and it's no one's fault. The oppressive economic system is emerging naturally from this combination of an environment, a kind of state of nature environment, and the primary male mating routine. This primary male mating routine operating in a state of nature environment. So I'll give a list here of some main oppressive subsystems and interactions of alpha predator male organizations. Stratification emerges from alpha predator male economics. Stratification is when the rights of the members of the group are disproportionately distributed. Some members have more access to the resources of the economy and mating with other members. Such members I term as in alpha state, while the other members that have less rights are in beta state. Often this occurs in numerical pecking order of betas, with those at the bottom receiving the scarcest of rights. So you see this often in chimpanzee bands, etc. This kind of stratification emerges. And really, every kind of group, animal group, because of how mates and resources are scarce. So it's rational for alpha predator or alpha agencies to stratify the group. It helps its genes replicate more. Due to stratification creating more access to mates and resources for members in alpha state. So the poor, and this extends to human society, the poor and slaves, the poor and the historical slaves, anybody in a beta disenfranchised state is really part of this larger stratification phenomena in the biosphere. Often stratification is done in dominance hierarchies, but man, because of his predisposed alpha predator male agency biased, misguided interests, these inherited kind of interests, he has devised new ways of making betas that we don't even really recognize. We don't recognize that, for example, poor people. All the poor people around the world aren't there because of it's just there's always going to be poor people, and that's their choice. They chose to do this. No, this is a new way for alphas to beta the system, and just as the chimpanzees and others, it's just a new form of betaing going on. They're there because of the choices of the alphas, people in alpha stage. There's betas because of the choices, or how really natural selection causes alphas to choose. So betas and poor people exist because of how natural selection causes human alphas humans in alpha state to choose. They choose to stratify and make poor people. It allows the points to be better accrued, and they can't help that. That's just, so it's not rich people or alpha males. It's more like natural selection. It's influencing men to create stratification, just as it influences all animal groups to create stratification. Some with more, albeit depending on if there are alpha predator males groups. These seem to be the most oppressive and stratified. So the poor aren't there because of their decisions. Excuse me. Yeah. Predatory words often try to communicate this falsehood. Many of the poor are working poor, who often work in multiple jobs. The poor were made from using the rationale of this alpha predator male economics. The same could be said for any group member of any animal who is in beta position. They are put in this position because it's rational from the perspective of alpha predator male economics. If the poor had a choice, they wouldn't be poor. If they had a choice in the government, in the money supply, in their economy, in their wages, the alpha predator male agencies and high positions of oppressive control have done literally every heinous, conceivable thing imaginable, even beyond my imagination, to not let the poor have a choice. In what happens with labor laws, and what happens with laws in general, and what happens with interests, what happens with the operations of the economy, with what happens with their wages, what happens with women. All while the minimum wage for the poor hasn't changed in decades, yet inflation has made everything more expensive. It hasn't scaled with inflation. And meanwhile, the alpha predator male agencies in high positions of illness, keep making more and more money. The poor didn't choose for this to happen. Choose for the wages to stagnate while the wealthy get higher wages. This was a decision naturally selected so that men in alpha state can spread their genes more than their competitors. And they don't even realize it. They're just so that men in alpha state can get the points that subconsciously, without even them realizing, spread their genes better, but destroy civilization. And what about the small percentage of poor that actually don't want to work? Why don't they want to work? Well, it was because of a society that didn't take care of them. They didn't raise them to have a good work ethic. They didn't raise them to be healthy. I would say, argue that society wants everyone to be lazy because those people are more easily taken over or dominated, as always the alpha male is trying to do. The alpha male wants to make lazy people that I shouldn't say lazy, but people that don't have a really strong work ethic because they don't want anybody working against them. So this was a decision made by sorry, a little. So once again, it comes back around, and even if they weren't, that's what it seems like to me. They're intentionally trying to make people not very hard workers. But even if they weren't, and there's just people that are not hard workers, and because of their environment or whatever, I mean, why? That's because of this sick environment of their society. Their society is still sick, so it still comes back around to these men in alpha state creating this weak environment or unhealthy environment that makes people unhealthy. Structural determinism is what it's called. The structure of societies is determining more than anything the behaviors and of the population. But we always have to remember that alpha state agencies are being controlled too, controlled by a sickness they need help with. Their inherited alpha predator male uh, emotional bonds. These things that were evolved to help maximize the number of a set of very troubled alpha predator male genes. The decision to make the poor is the decision they are evolved to do, just like war, genocide. It's not an evil personal choice. It's a decision that is ordained by evolution. But they are also destined to evolve from such destinations, from such decisions, and the destinations, those very sad destinations that they've been selected to reach, to spread the genes. So, maximize the replication, I should say. Other very oppressive things become rational from the perspective of alpha predator male economics, such as it being rational for a newly ranked alpha male to pedicide, if you will, to call the young offspring of the old alpha male. This makes sense from their gene's perspective. The alpha male is trying to secure scarce resources for his own offspring to help replicate his genes. This seems to not too much occur in matriarchies because they organize themselves hereditarily. The leadership position is granted not to, wait a second, yes. So the leadership position is not granted to non-related members. So in most alpha predator male societies, uh, when a new alpha takes over, he's not related to the prior alphas, and thus it becomes rational for him to kill the offspring of his of the former alpha. Rational from his genes perspective, and this is why it's also messed up, because all the stuff that's rational for the alpha predator male group is sad and not rational at all for making civilization. But so whereas when the female group, she's related. Usually when the next alpha, that when the matriarch dies, the oldest female takes over, and uh, and she's related to all the other offspring in the group. Uh, so therefore, it's not rational for her to call them all. So there's like, you see this. That's probably one of the biggest difference between animal matriarchies versus animal patriarchies, or animal, I should say, alpha predator males groups, and between and alpha predator female groups. Even though they're both alpha predators, since one's a male and one's a female, how they have their groups organized makes it, because of their main mating routine, pedicide, in-group pedicide. Just I don't know if it doesn't seem to hardly, like, doesn't really occur at all in the event of new alpha ranking, because of them all being related. So war is also rational from alpha predator male economics. War animals and animal groups are in individual and group conflicts with each other. I'm spitting, I'm sorry, talking a lot. Conflicts with each other. War is rational from try it again. War is rational from alpha predator male economics. Animals and animal groups are in individual and group conflicts with each other to ascertain territory. So they may have access to scarce resources and mates. This is really, gets real dark too. Again, apologize, but it has to be understood. Sexual assault, if able to be gotten away with, is often rational from alpha predator male economics. Their main routine is to spread genes. It's not necessarily to care about the health of the system. Sexual assault is something that's pretty common in the biosphere. It's not about treating things with honor. It's about just spread the genes any way you can, and that's often very sad. As I've said, sad things develop from this. Uh, if I'm not mistaken, like hyenas have evolved like a like a a proto penis or something like that. I can't remember what they call it, but they're female led, the matriarchies, and they have their sexual organs as females has actually evolved to go protrude out to be like a semi, almost like it's really like an inside, it goes inside out, so they can't get mated with, so no one will just try to mate with them, and then it goes in once they're ready to mate. So it's kind of like they've literally evolved not to get sexually assaulted. You know, they've evolved a system to where it's more in their favor. So we are stuck in this kind of alpha predator male economic system, which places value on oppressive control memories and pleasurable neurotransmitter release instead of actual physical systems being controlled. So it's a sacrificial alpha predator economy that preys on and sacrifices the physical systems so that they may be oppressively controlled, depriving the systems of their rights to extract alpha predator male utility. It sacrifices the health of the physical systems for oppressive control memories, instead of sacrificing oppressive control memories for the physical system's health. Such an economy is not so much about sacrificing and spending money or other oppressive control memories on people to honor their rights to improve health. As I've said, repeat, it's more about diminishing their health to extract alpha predator male utility from them. We're kind of repeating here, but to drill that point home, that paragraph could have been a lot better. Drive this point home that alpha predator male economics does not use control memories to improve the system's health. Okay, control memories, system's health. It in fact sacrifices the system's health to get more control memories. It does not. So what it needs to do though is sacrifice control memories to get health, the real profit. This is a false profit. That's a cost benefit, alpha predator male cost benefit analysis, making a misperceived, having a misperception of what profit truly is. And they can't help that. Of course they're going to perceive that. That's natural selection, making them perceive what is a profit, what is a cost, what is a benefit. Um, Even like the how we have our money supply designed, how we have our economy designed, how we have our government designed. They're not designed to maximally increase the health of the system. They're there for alpha predator male purposes. They're designed to get more money, more territory, more possessions, more positions in dominance hierarchies for a small group of men in alpha state. And that's of course of course it is. That's natural selection. Men seem to have been selected to have predispositions that cause them to create these really unstable group organizations where when they become large scale, macro scale. Going into that right now, and that is when they're on these kind of small tribal scales. Man's genes is kind of evolved to deal with scarcity. There's a certain level of scarcity to which animals are accustomed to, and then all of a sudden the agricultural revolution happens, And then it's like a deer in headlights. Man's genes are like, what do I do? You know, what they're supposed to do is, well, what to make civilization is, oh, well, we share this abundance, we solve for structural violence, so people aren't as violent anymore, they have all the food they need, and you know, we educate people and give them their rights, and you know, we use this abundance to solve for the world's problems. But men's genes are like deer in headlight. They're like, nope, I'm not going to do this thing that needs to survive. I'm going to sit here and get hit by a car. You know, instead takes all the resources, consolidates them. Now I can have 12 wives and you have none. I can out reproduce you. I win, you know? And that's what happens is this, like, instead of using the abundance to solve for everything, it just like, it's the deer in headlights, literally. Because, like, you know, there's this thing that happens. Their deer's genes are not evolved to solve for cars. And man's genes are not evolved to solve for civilization and abundance. And so when they encounter civilization and abundance, uh, it's like a deer in headlights. They do the exact opposite of what they're supposed to do because of how natural, how what makes sense to spread genes. You know, what makes sense to spread all the genes the best was different when it was like small bands and there was scarcity. There was more. It was more egalitarian in a weird way with because of there being less scarce resources or more scarce resources. Scarcity actually made them behave better because that's what the genes are used to. But not too much scarcity. You know, there's like that level of scarcity. And they can't help that.